نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Respected and beloved listeners, Assalamu Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Welcome back to Darajat. This series is called Rhetoric versus Reason, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different for this one. It's not about personalities, it's not about scoring points, and it's not about being apologetic to claims about Islam. Instead, this series is about learning how to tell the difference between persuasion and evidence, between rhetoric and reason. We're going to examine arguments that sound convincing, feel sincere, and are often presented very confidently, and then ask a simple question. Do these arguments actually hold up under scrutiny, or do they merely sound convincing? Specifically, we'll be analyzing claims made against Islam using one popular example as a case study, not because it's unique, but because of how influential it became and how deeply it shaped the modern interfaith landscape. That case study is the book Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus by Nabeel Qureshi. Why analyze something like this in the first place? Well, recently, a particular pattern has emerged in terms of how people leave Islam and how those departures are presented to the world. Certain figures gained credibility not primarily through rigorous argumentation, but through personal narrative, by being portrayed as former insiders, fluent in Islamic language, familiar with Muslim practice, and able to speak convincingly about what being Muslim felt like. And that's exactly the issue. Familiarity with religious terminology, lived experience, or emotional memories, like praying salah, learning Quran as a child, growing up in a Muslim home, these may produce a compelling story, but none of that by itself determines whether underlying claims are true or justified. Yet today we repeatedly see shifts in belief framed this way, through feelings, dreams, stories, moral reactions, and personal dissatisfaction, all presented after the fact as if they were decisive rational conclusions. People will often say they left Islam because of violence or ethics or historical claims, but when you slow down those claims, they almost always reduce to emotional judgments, not conclusions produced by sound reasoning. Once this approach becomes normal, it breeds confidence without rigor, and arguments that can't survive even their own standards. So the purpose of this series isn't simply to respond to one book or one story. It's to expose the method behind this pattern and to offer a better one. A way of evaluating beliefs that doesn't depend on how powerful a story feels, but on whether a claim is actually true and whether it deserves to be believed. So how are we going to do this? We're going to work through the material deliberately and in order, often chapter by chapter, prioritizing careful analysis over immediate reaction. Each episode will use a commonly accepted critical thinking framework to separate two things that are often blended together: rhetoric, how something is presented, and reason, what is actually being argued. To be clear, rhetoric isn't a bad thing. Every meaningful message uses symbols, imagery, tone, and emotion. The problem is when rhetorical force is mistaken for evidential strength. It's like seasoning on food. Seasoning can enhance how something tastes, but no amount of flavor turns poison into health food. If the substance isn't there, the presentation can only make you believe it's beneficial. So what we'll do is strip the seasoning away. We'll isolate the core claims, identify the assumptions underneath them, and ask whether the argument still works once the tears dry up and the emotional momentum is gone. This isn't about telling you what to believe, but is about providing you with the tools to make the assessment for yourself, so that conviction is grounded in understanding, not in momentum. When arguments are slowed down, it becomes much easier to see whether they actually hold together or whether they only felt convincing whilst in motion. This series is about helping viewers pause, step back, and evaluate actual claims rather than being affected by persuasion tactics. This is Rhetoric versus Reason.